Okay, good evening, class. We are group 21. We have Celia, Jacqueline, Selma, Jennifer, and Eunice. Okay, so our topic will be introducing teaching and learning process. We're going to be talking about different methods of teaching and learning and how effective they can be by giving specific examples on those. Secondly, we'll be discussing important concepts relating to teaching and learning, understanding the teaching gap, critical thinking, and cultural differences. Along with that, we'll be reviewing some simple methods and systems that might be utilized and the results from each concept. And we'll be touching base on the importance of teaching and learning process. And lastly, we'll be discussing the real world issues relating this topic. We'll go ahead and pass it on to Jennifer.
During this course, we have learned a lot about learning and teaching strategies. A reoccurring strategy is scaffolding. Scaffolding being a cultural activity that enables children to learn from teachers' experiences. The US culture influences our educational system to have a teaching gap, which is why teachers are always on top of a lesson plan. Since teachers are always on top of their lesson plan, they never really make time to do something outside of their plan for the week and for the month. Critical thinking is essential for deep learning versus just learning for a test because of how our memory works. For example, critical thinking is going beyond in-depth thinking and memorizing. Meanwhile, learning for a test just happens to be practicing to perform on the day of the exam. Three principles of information processing model would be encoding, storage, and retrieval. Some practices that we have gone over in the class for effective teaching would be doing interactive lessons, group work, fun engaging activities, role reversal, and self-assessment that can be effective to teach students a little bit more than just a lesson plan. And we will be moving on forward with Jacqueline.
The new reading is called Learning and Teaching Strategies. It is an American Scientist article by Ronald Hoffman and Sandra Yancey McCurry. I will be highlighting the main points, the lessons, and the connections. The main point that I have listed is 6 learning strategies. The first one being handwritten notes. It helps engage more, and the brain is more active, which helps to focus. Also, rewriting your notes can create a long-term memory of the material. Secondly, if you miss classes, it is important that you have connections with other peers so that you can borrow their notes and help you with anything that you miss, and also asking the note taker for help can be essential. Number 3 is having your course textbook. In the course textbook, you have examples and exercises and different methods you can try, which can help you with the one that helps you the most. Number 4 is creating study groups. Having discussion and problem solving activities can help one another. Number 5 is teaching the material yourself, whether it is to other peers or family members. It helps you grasp better the information. Lastly, set goals. Know the learning skills required to be able to cognitively accomplish tasks. The second main point is 6 teaching tactics. The first one is fairness in grading. Teachers should be considerate of possibly curbing exams so that does not overwhelm students. Number 2 is setting real life in a classroom setting, whether it is having news events happening today in classroom discussions. Number 3 is having open book exams, which is less stressful. Number 4 is humor. Humor reduces stress and it creates in a fun learning way in which creates a stronger bond between students and children or students. Number 5 is surprises. In exams, you can gain more knowledge when you do questions you possibly didn't even study for. Number Six is demonstrations, which helps with visual learners. It is mostly seen in chemistry classes. The third main point is three transforming motivators. The first one is learning styles, the way in which the information gets processed. Second is learning does not mean you have to have a perfect understanding, it is a process method. Number three is having a mentor to get assistance from. It makes an individual more confident. The last main point is enabling learning and teaching. Psychological principles such as empathy, active learning, interplay of groups and individuals, and empowerment. The lessons are that teaching and learning varies from each individual and taking account of the culture systems they are in. And strategies help individuals learn cognitively and having critical thinking skills. The connections is in relation to Module 8 on how it is implied how the US focuses more on procedures compared to Japan, which focuses on connections and which creates higher accomplishments in students. Now we'll be passing it on to Celia.
So you might ask, why is learning all of this and having this in mind important? So learning and teaching contributes to research and education, and that's why it is important to learn all of this. It contributes to research and education by seeing what worked and what didn't work. So for educators like teachers and professors, they know they can determine what worked and what didn't work by seeing if their lessons plan worked, or by seeing whatever they have in their agenda or what they created, and if students have learned things or have shown that they haven't learned things. For example, if a professor gives a test or some group work or bases off their knowledge, the kids' knowledge off their grades, professors, educators can see if the way that they're teaching or their teaching style worked with materials. If the lesson plans didn't work, they could create learning blocks, or they could modify their agenda plans or their lesson plans in order for them to get their classroom to where they need to be. It is also important because this also contributes to research. When you put this type of information into research, this information could be reached by other educators, and it could help them teach lessons better or in a better way too. Like, for example, if they're teaching like a community that has mental disabilities, or they have another, or they can learn in a certain way, they can modify their lesson plans, or they can use research in order for students to learn more. Now passing on the torch to Salma.
Thank you. Today I'm going to be talking about important real-world applications, which are one of the examples I put on the slides would be students who do well on their exams. It could be science, math, English, etc., which must be promote her memory and answering the raw essay questions on the test, such as analyze eventually impact of the universe made of events leading to this world. Another example would be fourth grade or fifth grade students were given a passage of school related material, either social science studies and science, to be real and to be read and learning. Lastly, important for students should study and well knowing the material and keeping studying. And however, all students were told that they should study so that they will know the material very well.
Well, this concludes our presentation, and this is our reference page. The first reference we use is called Ask the Cognitive Scientist, What Will Improve a Student's Memory? The second one is called Learning and Teaching Strategies, and the third one is called the teaching gap.